In today's class, we will discuss about simultaneous changes in the demand and the supply and effect on the equilibrium price in the market. You previously understood that when the quantity demanded in the market is going to be equal to the quantity supplied, the equilibrium price is determined. And you also understood that the market demand can change, the market supply can also change. So simultaneous changes in the demand and the supply, how that could affect the market price is what we are going to understand through diagrams today, right? The scheduled depiction for the change in the demand and the supply is not part of your curriculum. We would only be discussing the change in the demand curve or the shift in the demand curve and shift in the supply curve and its effect on the equilibrium price in the market, right? So, let's understand from the equilibrium price onwards. So, measuring the price along the y-axis and the quantity demanded and supplied along the x-axis. The equilibrium price is attained at a specific level, say P. So, when OP is going to be the equilibrium price and OQ is going to be the equilibrium quantity in the market, and the original demand and the supply curves are going to be D and S. When there is going to be an increase in the demand, that would result in a rightward shift in the demand curve. So the demand curve, it might shift from D to D dash, a rightward shift in the demand curve, right? What is happening at this new demand curve? Supply is over here. This is a supply curve and the original demand curve is D, right? Let's understand this case first, when only the demand curve is going to shift either to the right or to the left and the supply is going to remain constant, right? So, let's put it up here. Supply remains constant and the demand is going to increase. When the supply remains constant and when the demand is going to increase, it can be depicted through a diagram like this. A rightward shift in the demand curve from D to D1 at the same supply. So, at this market price OP, just extend this market price to this new demand curve D1. Yeah, what has happened here? What has happened here? At this price OP, let's understand the initial equilibrium was at E, where the original demand curve was equal to the original supply curve. Now, when there is a rightward shift in the demand curve from D to D1, at this price P, there would arise an excess demand to the extent of, let us say, EB. So, when there is going to be an excess demand, you know that there will be competition among the buyers and the buyers will be ready to offer a higher price. So, as a result of this excess demand at this price OP, the market price will go up and the market will attain, it is a new equilibrium. Market will attain a new equilibrium at E1 at this particular point E1 on the same supply curve and on the new demand curve, right? This new equilibrium will be to the right of this original equilibrium E. It will be at a higher price P1 and the quantity transacted will also be a higher quantity. So, on the new demand curve D1, the new equilibrium will be attained to the right of the original equilibrium E at E1 on a higher price and at a higher quantity, the market will come on to this new price equilibrium. Right? So this is the case where the supply remains constant and the demand increases. Alright, fine. Now, when the supply is going to remain constant and when the demand is going to fall, what would be the reaction in the market? Let's try and understand that. So as usual, start with the original equilibrium where the given demand curve is going to intersect the supply curve at a specific price P in the market, and the quantity demanded and supplied is going to be OQ at this price P. Now, supply remaining constant, when the demand is going to fall, why would the demand fall? Probably there is a fall in the income, and as a result of fall in the income and reduction in the purchasing power, there could be a fall in the demand, isn't it? So there could be a leftward shift in the demand curve. So from D, the demand curve is going to shift to the left, right, to D1, right? The original equilibrium was at E, where the original demand was intersecting the supply curve at E. Now due to the shift, leftward shift in the demand curve from D to D1, at this particular market price OP, there would arise a deficient demand. Or we can even say that there is an excess supply. Yes, this can be expressed as a deficient demand or an excess supply. Fine. So when there is a deficient demand or an excess supply in the market, the price will be pushed down. Fine. So the sellers, they will be ready to offer the product because the demand is not very high, the demand is very less. So the sellers, in order to push off the supply that is in their hands, they would be ready to offer the products at a lower price. So the market price will fall, right? So the new equilibrium will be attained at a lower price, let's say OP1, to the left of this original equilibrium at E1 on the new demand curve. And look at this, the quantity that is transacted in the market will also be lower, right? The new quantity will be OQ1, right? And at a reduced price OP1, the market will be attaining this new equilibrium at E1 on the new demand curve, right? So this is the case when the supply is going to remain constant and the demand alone changes. The reasons for the demand to change either to the right or to the left, it's been already discussed. Yeah. So just understand, when there is going to be a rightward shift, what is the effect that we saw? Supply remains constant, demand increases. Fine. As a result of that, the market price might increase and the quantity that is transacted in the market also increases. So at a higher price and at a higher quantity, the market will attain equilibrium to the right of the original equilibrium. Fine. And look at this diagram. What did you understand? When the supply remains constant and when there is going to be a leftward shift in the demand curve due to fall in the demand, then what is happening? The price might fall from OP, the price might fall. So at a lower price and at a lower output, the market might attain its new equilibrium to the left of the original equilibrium at E1 on the new demand curve. Right? So these are two cases that you can understand when there is just going to be one of the market force changing. Demand and supply are the two market forces. When one market force, supply, remains constant and the other one changes, this could be the outcome. Fine. Now, what will happen when the demand remains constant and when the supply increases? That's also very much possible, isn't it? Demand does not change. Maybe because no change in the income of the consumer, no change in the price of the related products, all other factors affecting the demand, they remain the same, so demand does not change. Fine, demand remains constant. But then, due to better technique of production, maybe the supply might increase. Fine, so that would shift the supply curve to the right, isn't it? So, in such a situation, what happens to the market price? If you try and understand that through the diagram, then as usual, measuring your market price here along the y-axis and the quantity demand and supply along the x-axis. Start with the original equilibrium. Let's say OP is the market price at which the market attains its equilibrium, having the original demand and the supply intersecting at this particular point E. Now, demand is going to remain the same and the supply alone is going to increase. Fine. So, that would result in the supply curve shifting to the right. Fine. See, these arrow marks are very, very important. Fine. In every diagram, you observe that the change in the variable is depicted through an arrow mark. Fine. So, whenever you are going to draw the diagram, definitely you will show the arrow mark. Fine. When there is a rightward shift, yes, the arrow will show the rightward shift. Fine. And then the leftward shift, similarly, there would be a leftward arrow pointer. Right. So, when the supply is going to shift to the right, depicting an increase in the supply, at this price, market price or equilibrium price, OP, fine, at this equilibrium price OP, there would be an excess supply understood. So, to the extent of say EA, there could be an excess supply, and whenever there is an excess supply, the market price might go down. Right? Under normal circumstances, competition among the suppliers will push the price down. Right? And on the new supply curve to the right of the original equilibrium, on the new supply curve, let me repeat, on the new supply curve to the right of the original equilibrium at a lower price and at a higher output, the market will attain its new equilibrium. Fine. So, what's the effect here? The market price falls and the market output increases. Okay. Fine. Demand is constant. Supply increases, which shifts the supply curve to the right, as a result of which the new equilibrium will be attained at a lower price and at a higher output. Yes, you see the outcome is different in each case. The outcome is different, isn't it? Yeah, it's not just a increase in the demand, decrease in the demand, or increase in the supply and so on. The effect on the market price and the market output is different in each of the case, right? So, let's understand when demand remains constant and when the supply is going to decrease, then what may be the outcome, right? So, let's begin with the demand and the supply equilibrium at the market price P. There is going to be OQ, which is the market equilibrium output. What is the condition? Demand remains constant and the supply is going to fall. Now, supply fall probably could be due to a high taxation, and the government decides to increase the level of taxes. So, production would become costly. So, when production becomes costly, the inducement to produce more and supply more falls. So, supply might decrease due to that. So, when there is going to be a fall in the supply, that can be depicted as a leftward shift. So, this supply curve S is going to shift to the left. So leftward shift in the supply curve at this particular price OP. Right? What will happen? At this price OP, what do you see here? There is going to be an excess demand. There is going to be an excess demand, or there is going to be a deficient supply. So when there is going to be an excess demand, then what will happen? The market price will be pushed up, and on the new supply curve, the market will attain its new equilibrium at a higher price. So this new price and a lower output will be understood at E1 as a new equilibrium. Right? This new equilibrium will be to the left of the original equilibrium, and the new equilibrium will be at a higher price and at a lower level of output. Yes? So this is how, when a single market force, namely supply or demand, if it is going to change, that would be affecting the market equilibrium. The market equilibrium will be a new equilibrium, either at a high price or at a lower price, and accordingly at a different quantity the market will be arriving at the fresh equilibrium. Right? Now what happens when there are going to be simultaneous changes in the demand and in the supply? We will see that in the next clipping. Right? Namaste.